in Tamil literary circles, there is a very interesting terminology that is used. For instance, you know the popular classical writers like T. Janakiraman, Ashokamitran, Jayakanthan. Suddenly a friend will call and say, Sanjay, நீங்கள் வந்து ஜி நாகராஜன் படிச்சிருக்கீங்களா? நாளை மற்றும் ஒரு நாளைன்னு ஒரு புக் எழுதியிருக்கார். ரொம்ப முக்கியமான படைப்பு. அவர் வந்து ஒரு ரொம்ப முக்கியமான ரைட்டர் அப்படிம்பா. இன்னொரு நாளைக்கு somebody else will phone. இந்த பா சிங்காரம்னு ஒரு முக்கியமான ரைட்டர் சார். அவர் வந்து புயலிலே ஒரு தோணி அப்படின்னு ஒரு புத்தகம் எழுதியிருக்காரு. இது கண்டிப்பாக நீங்கள் படிக்கணும் அப்படிம்பா. What they are trying to say is it's like reading lists. You know, if you are in a literature course, they would say essential reading and they will give you a list. But you know, in private circles, these names will keep coming up when you are discussing what you have read, what is the latest you have read. Similarly, in Carnatic music, one of the most important names like this is always Brinda Mukta. Now, Brinda Mukta belong to the Dhanammal family, Dhanammal's granddaughters, and they specialized especially in these padams and javali singing. Of course, phenomenal repertoire of classical compositions like Tyagaraja, Dikshidhar, Shyama Sastri, etc., and the Kshetragya padams, things like that. And we were exposed to it at a very young age. For instance, my grandmother, grand aunt Rukmini Rajagopalan and my guru, she exposed me a lot to their repertoire, taught me several songs. In fact, after I had learned for about 3 or 4 years, one day she said, நீ இனிமேல் கொஞ்சம் பதம் கற்றுக்கலான்னு நினைக்கிறேன் அப்படின்ட்டு ஒன் டே ஷி ஸ்டார்டட் ஓ சோசி நாமதி அப்படின்னு ஒரு நாளைக்கு. இன்னொரு நாளைக்கு நீங்கள் இது பாடு, யார் போய் சொல்லுவார் எனக்கான பேரையும் காணோம், யார் போய் சொல்லுவார். Mari, she taught me several padams like this, explaining the nuances, the specific sangadis, how beautifully they brought out the raga bhavam. And it was like essential aesthetics for any Carnatic musician or student to pick up and include in your music. And when you also learned these compositions, you'd like to maintain those versions. For instance, they themselves, when they taught it, they insisted that people should not change a single line. And they taught extensively to many, many people. Even though I never learned from them directly, even today, if I were to learn a padam and if I went to their version, I don't even feel like changing a single line or a single gamakam because it's so fulfilling by itself and so complete in the way it can be learnt and reproduced. Now, there was a time when I had just bought a new car and we had a CD player and I had one particular recording of Brinda Amma singing Padams and Javalis. It was a national program, I think. And I remember, I think Annavarupu Ramswamy and Coimbatore Ramsampillai have played Pakavati. That recording I would have heard, I don't know, hundreds of times. The moment the car started in my house, anybody drove, that Padam CD will be running. And people who have travelled with us in the car have heard it so many times. My children have heard it so many times. It was like a permanent fixture in my car. And my exposure to those ragams, those Padams were so intense at one point of time. Kantimati Kalyani, I had to learn that composition when I heard those recordings and things like that. Then there was always this thing that you needed their acknowledgement because they were highly respected and they didn't accept everybody singing. So, அவா வார்த்தையால் ஒரு வார்த்தை சொன்னான்னா அது வந்து ஒரு பெரிய ஒரு சர்டிஃபிகேட் மாதிரி எல்லாரும் எடுத்துப்பா. There was this instance when Shruti Pattabhiraman, Mr. Pattabhiraman of Shruti, called my guru and said, நீங்களும் சஞ்சயும் போய் இந்த முக்தா அம்மாவை ஒரு இன்டர்வியூ பண்ணுங்கோ அப்படின்னு. ஸோ மை குரு செட், வடா நம்ம கொஞ்சம் முக்தா அம்மாவுக்கு போயிட்டு வருவோம் அப்படின்னு. சரி, ஓகே போகலாமாம்மா அப்படின்ட்டு போனோம். It was a long interview for an hour and a half. She spoke about music, she spoke about her life, her training, she singing along with Brinda Amma, her grandmother, other people in their family. Ella romba detailed she was talking. And then my guru asked her about the swaram paradha patti neenga enna nenikiren, because Mukta Amma didn't sing Kalpana swarams. Brinda Amma used to sing. So she said, நான் பாட மாட்டேன், Brinda Amma பாடுவா, அவதான் பாடுவா அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு. அப்போ கேட்டால் அதெல்லாம் பாடலாங்கிறா கச்சேரிக்கு அப்படின்னா, ஏன் ராகபாவமாக பாடலாம், இப்போ நீங்களாம் நல்லா தானே பாடுறேன் அப்படின்னு ஷி காம்ப்ளிமெண்டட் மை குரு. அண்ட் மீ கெமிங் அவுட் ஹி செட், பரவாயில்லடா அந்த அம்மா என் பாட்டை கூட கொஞ்சம் ஒத்துக்கிட்டா அப்படின்னு. Another instance is recently there was a very beautiful interview with Soumya on one of the YouTube channels, very long intense interview, and she's given a very detailed description of her learning from Mukta Amma, how she started learning and all that. And there is one very beautiful incident she narrates when Brinda Amma was sitting outside when she was learning from Mukta Amma, and how she actually acknowledged Soumya's ability to sing, etc., in her own subtle manner. She recalls it very well in that entire interview, which reminds me of one incident that happened to me. Now, I haven't interacted directly with Brinda Ma much. There was just once I had visited her for giving some invitation or something, and she knew that who I was. She knew my grand aunt, she knew my grandparents from Calcutta. There was some UCO Bank connection, and etc., etc. So then what happened was there was a concert in Shastri Hall. It was for Sammangudi Srinivasa Golden Jubilee Trust. It was in 89 or 90. And my party had told me, Neelambari Padi, Amba Neelambari Padi. Now, Amba Neelambari is a very composition of Ponnaya Pillai. And there are two distinct versions of the song with different Chittaswarams. One is what Brinda Ma sings, and the other one is what the Annamalai University they all sing. People like T.K. Rangachari, my guru also sing that version. Now, I had learnt this version, Brinda Ma's version, from my grand aunt, and I was planning to sing it. Now, as it happens in that concert, Brinda Ma came to attend. So she was sitting in the first row, and concert went on. I had sung for about 45 minutes, and I was, as it is, very excited that she was sitting there and listening. And I sang Amba Neelambari. As soon as I finished it, I looked at her. We all want acknowledgement, okay? So I just looked at her. She clapped her hands and stood up and left the hall. So I was very happy. Next day I went to Pati's house and said, Pati, I think Brinda Ma vandirundha. Vandirundha, paathen. Nee paadiniye, Amba Neelambari, kai thattitu endu pona, adiyum paathen. On that note, see you soon.